Hey guys, welcome back to Life of Bliss. Today I've got a pretty cool project for you. So if you've been following the channel for any amount of time, which if you haven't, that subscribe button's right down there. But anyways, you'll notice that I haven't had any acoustic treatments up in my theater area. In fact, many of you have commented down below about the lack of acoustic treatments. So to solve that, I made some of these. So these movie posters not only look awesome, but they have 2 inches of rock wool acoustic insulation on the inside, making them great acoustic panels for the room down here. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to get the movie posters edited, getting them printed on fabric, and making the acoustic panels. Oh, and if you already haven't hit that like button down below, now would be a good time. So before we get started, I did want to show you guys a thread over here on AVS Forum if you're interested. This is the DIY custom printed movie posters forum. And you know, this is not something that I did for the first time. A lot of the information can be found on this particular thread. There's a lot of helpful people over here. There's like 130 pages of comments. Nick here has been a great help to this thread. He actually made sure that all of my my edits were done correctly before I got things printed. And my buddy Chip made these before I did, so I bounced a few ideas off of him before actually making mine. So this is just a large community of people doing the same sort of thing. So if you have any questions or want to check this out, I'll leave a link to this down in the description. Now, as far as where I source the movie posters from, I got mine from a place called Mania IO. And this place has all kinds of movie posters ranging from movies, Netflix series, weekly shows, just almost anything you can think of is on here. And one thing you'll notice is there's no words on these posters. So if you're looking for something like that, you'll have to find those elsewhere. But you know, you can do this same process with movie posters or, you know, wildlife scenery or you know, really whatever you want as long as it's a good, high quality, high res photo. So right now I am in the phone section, which is a taller aspect ratio or a taller orientation. If you go into the desktop, it just gives you different options for a more wide orientation if you had some posters that you wanted wider instead of taller. But I grabbed mine out of here. We'll go ahead and find one that we want to download and use. I use this one in my room. You'll want to download the 2500 by 4000 aspect ratio there. We'll go ahead and save that and go on to our editing program. So to do all the editing for the photos, I'm using a free program called GIMP, and I'll leave a link down in the description to this and all the other websites that I've been talking about. But we'll go ahead and open our file, which I'm going to be using this Avengers Endgame poster because it's got nice defined borders there. It's not all black, so you can see the border that we're going to be adding. So essentially what we're going to be doing is blowing this picture up to the size that we want to be printed and then putting a black border around everything. So when we wrap it around that frame, it has a nice finished look. So our first step is to come up to the image tab and we'll scale the image. We're going to change this pixels to inches so we know how big the original image is. We're going to change the width to 24 inches because that's roughly how wide the insulation is that we'll be using here later on. And it automatically changes your height to about 38.5 inches. So once that's done, it will blow up the image a little bit. We'll go ahead and go to View and Fit Image to our window so we can actually see all of it. Next thing we're going to do is add another layer that we can make the black border around. So we'll go to Layer, New Layer, and we'll come up here to the Height and Width section. And again, we'll change that to inches. And since we're going to need at least 3.5 inches of black on every side of this poster, I like adding at least 8 inches to this number here. So I just use 33 and 48. And that'll give us plenty of room for a black border. All right, now once that layer is added, you can see this yellow line out here. Our canvas is only as big as this picture here, so we need to increase our canvas size. So we're going to fit canvas to layers under the image tab. And now you'll see we have this transparent background that shows us this is part of our image now too. To get the black background, we're going to this fill bucket here and make sure your color is black. Come over to the transparent section, click, and it will take a moment to fill in everything in black. Now if it starts covering up your image like this, all you need to do is, once it gets done filling in here, make sure that the black layer is highlighted. Come down here to this arrow button that will lower that layer and put your poster back on top. Next we'll need to center our poster on the black layer there, so we'll come over to our move tool, which is the 4 arrows, and then an easy way to do this is whenever you are highlighted on a layer and then you click, there's a little crosshair that shows you where the absolute center of that layer is. So right here, once I click, there's that little crosshair that shows up. So we'll come back over to the Avengers poster, and when we click, we see our center arrow. We'll move it right to the center where the shoulder was, and then it should position itself in the center. Now I made it where I do have a couple extra inches on either side of this poster, but if you want to be sure, you can come in and zoom in a little bit by hitting your plus key and then doing the same process. Click on the black layer, find out where the center is, which is right by her hand there when I click. Click on the Avengers poster again and move it back to where that center line was. And once that's done, to verify everything is centered up, you can come up to View and then Fit Image to Window again and see that everything is centered around it. Now once you're done making this, the site that we're going to be uploading it to likes their images more horizontal than vertical. That'll make more sense here once we go to the site, but to rotate everything 90 degrees, we first need to come up to Image and merge our visible layers. So that's going to make the black background and the poster one layer, so it will all move at the same time. So we'll go ahead and merge those two. And once that's done, you can come over here and see there's just one layer now, which is our entire picture. Come over to Image, Transform, and rotate 90 degrees. And now we have our sideways image. So we're done with all the edits at this point. So we're going to come up here and export our photo. You can also save this. It will save it as the file to edit later if you do need to make any corrections. So definitely save it like that as well. But we want to export this as a JPEG. So we're going to export, and we'll just name this. So when you hit export, you're going to get this little box that pops up to ask the quality that you want to save this. Show the preview in the window to see the file size. The website we'll be uploading to can accept anything up to 50 megabyte, and you want to get the highest resolution that you can. So I've always been able to just throw this all the way up to 100%, and it's still under 50 megabyte. So we're at 41.8. We'll go ahead and export and save it, and then we're ready to upload it to our site to get printed. So the website I use to get these printed off is called My Fabric Designs. A lot of people have been using this particular place recently and have had good luck. It's pretty easy to get everything uploaded and sent off to you, and they usually have 20 or 25% off coupons going on at any given time. So either check the forums or check your favorite coupon site for that, but we'll go to upload and upload our file that we just edited. So once uploaded, this is a screen that's going to bring you to, as you can see, it is not on there correctly. We'll have to do a little bit of editing here. Now, we're only going to do one. We're not going to tile it, so we're just going to click this here. And then also, as far as the DPI, if we come back to our settings and we look at our scale image again, our resolution is 300 pixels per inch, which will come in handy back here on the site. So we'll set the DPI and set it to 300. And then it'll give us our dimensions that we put in, our 33-inch wide by 48-inch tall. And then it will render it here on one piece of fabric for us. We're just going to do one of these. So once you have all of these settings correct, it should be showing over here as one piece of fabric, the 54 inch by 1 yard, and it should almost completely fill that up. You'll come over here, make sure that the basic combed cotton is the fabric that's selected. It's one of the cheaper ones and it works well for this application, coming up at $17.50 a piece. So like I said, there's usually a 20 or 25% off coupon floating out there somewhere. Be sure to throw that on. And you can add that to cart, start uploading other images, and add as many as you want, and they get them printed up and sent out to you. Now when you first get these, they are going to be pretty wrinkly. You'll want to throw them in a dryer or use some other method to get as many of the wrinkles out as possible. At this point, it's not a bad idea to take a quick measurement for the dimensions of the poster and to make sure there is enough black border to cover the edges. To make the frames, some 1x4 poplar boards were cut down to 38.5 inches and 22.5 inches. I used a Craig jig to drill out 2 holes on each end of the short boards to make the frames. I really like using the Craig jig for stuff like this because it's a quick, easy way to make a strong joint without using glue or any air tools. To reduce the visibility of the frame on the fabric, I went over all of the inside edges with a sander to give them a slight round over. The same could be done with a router to make an even smoother transition. The insulation I used was the 2-inch thick Rockwool 8-pound density acoustic insulation. When cutting it out for the frame, you'll want to make sure it's going to be a tight fit so it holds itself in place. I marked the edges of the frame and used a straight edge to cut just slightly longer to get a good fit. Once cut, you should be able to slide the frame over the insulation and have it stay in place. Next, it was time to seal off the back so the insulation was covered. I went to my local Hobby Lobby and grabbed the cheapest spandex-like material that they had with a little bit of stretch in it. The 10 foot of material to cover all of the frames only cost about $13. I started off in the center of the longer sides and worked my way out to the corners, putting staples every 2 to 3 inches and rotating to all the sides as I went. On a side note, you'll want to make sure that the insulation is just slightly recessed in the front, but you keep the 1 to 1.5 inches of airspace towards the back. This actually helps increase the performance of the panel and gives it similar absorption properties to a thicker insulation. And now for the fun part, adding the movie print. It's still probably going to be a little wrinkly, so spraying more wrinkle remover at this stage is helpful. Stapling was done similar to how the spandex was done on the back. After lining up all the edges and corners, I started on one side by attaching a few staples, then moved to the opposite side to pull it tight and staple. After attaching all 4 sides, I moved towards the corners, adding staples every few inches. When doing this, you'll really need to pull the fabric tight to remove any creases. I'll show you in a bit what it looks like if you don't and how I fixed it. The corners were a little tricky to get tight, but here's the process I went through that I had good luck with. I tried to pull the top or bottom tight against the frame and secured it. Then I took the excess material, folded it over those staples, pulled it tight, and secured it on the back side of the frame. This gave me a nice tight corner with the excess fabric. And there we have a crease-free movie poster. Now there will be some fabric left over on the back that you will need to cut off and remove. The final step before hanging is mounting the French cleat brackets. There are many different types and sizes out there. I went with a 12-inch long version and placed it directly in the center of the top board. Now I mentioned earlier that if you don't get all the creases out, you can come back and fix it. This was my first attempt, and as you can see, it was not the best. I found that I could stretch the fabric a little tighter over the edges and throw a few staples in the back to make any corrections if needed without removing everything and starting over. I won't know the full effects of these panels on my theater setup until I'm able to get my mic out and do some measurements in REW, but already I've been able to tell that there is a decrease in echoes and a better separation between the front stage and surrounds. All 5 panels ended up costing right around $300 or roughly $60 per panel, which is actually pretty cheap when you start looking around to see what other custom panels cost. I still have enough insulation to make one more of the larger panels as well as several smaller panels if I wanted with the leftovers. To make this project even cheaper, you could make your own 1x4s by ripping down some MDF or plywood and knock another $50 off the total. I ended up using the 1x4 pine, as most people probably have either a miter saw or a circular saw to be able to do this easier rather than having a table saw to rip down their own. And honestly, if you want to save even more money, instead of doing movie posters like this, you could do something similar like I did on the backside and just get a single color fabric and stretch it around the front as well. So hopefully this video helped you guys out if you are looking to make something similar for your own home. Like I said, I will leave links down in the description below with all of the materials and websites that I use to make these happen. And if you were looking to help support the channel, some of you may not know this, but the Amazon links that I list down below, whether you buy the product that is linked to or if you buy anything else on Amazon, just by clicking on that link and purchasing something, I do get a small commission which helps support the channel, and it's no extra cost to you. I really do appreciate all the support that you guys give me with these projects that I've been doing. I've got a lot more coming your way. Hope everyone's been having a good week. Thanks for checking out the video, and I will see you soon.